Live from the CNN Broadcast Center in New York, Connie Chung.
Good evening. Tonight, should a state's official poet be granted poetic license to propagate falsehoods about September 11th, about Israel? The poet is New Jersey Poet Laureate Amiri Baraka, who will talk with us exclusively tonight. The lie is an old one, ridiculous on the face of it because it claims 4,000 Israelis worked at the World Trade Center. That would be almost 10% of everyone working in the two buildings. Nevertheless, no one can say they didn't know Baraka might cause controversy. Amiri Baraka says he warned New Jersey Governor Jim McGreevey that he might, quote, catch hell for naming Baraka to be the state's poet laureate. If the poet sensed trouble was brewing, it certainly exploded last month. That's when he performed his poem, Somebody Blew Up America, written shortly after 9/11, at a poetry festival in New Jersey. Most of the poem concerns the legacy of slavery and racism, but several lines made specific reference to 9/11. Who knew the World Trade Center was going to get bombed? Who told
4,000 Israeli workers at the Twin Towers to stay home that day?
The lines in question make reference to a persistent myth about 9/11, that 4,000 Israelis had foreknowledge of the attack, failed to inform anyone, and escaped with their own lives while the towers burned. These rumors were circulated over the internet and cited by papers around the world. In some places, especially in the Middle East, the story was presented as fact. Baraka had been a pivotal figure in American poetry for 4 decades. His work has often been controversial, but in 1980, he published an essay entitled Confessions of a Former Anti-Semite. At a press conference today, he defended his poem.
I was not saying Israel was responsible for the attack, but that they knew, and our own counterfeit president knew too.
Following Baraka's reading last month, the Anti-Defamation League and other Jewish groups blasted him as anti-Semitic and called for him to step down as the poet laureate. And New Jersey Governor Jim McGreevey joined the calls for Baraka's resignation.
Somebody makes a statement to imply that the Israelis were aware of. That's simply inappropriate, that's not tolerable, and he ought to resign.
But there is no provision in New Jersey law for retracting the honor. He was named by a committee to a 2-year post that includes a $10,000 award. At least one member of the selection committee said Baraka should not resign. Joining me now, the man once described by the American Academy of Arts and Letters as one of the most important African-American poets since Langston Hughes, New Jersey Poet Laureate Amiri Baraka. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Why did you write these particular lines that have provoked such controversy?
Well, let's say the rest of the poem is of no consequence. It's just those lines that are important.
Those lines have created quite a firestorm, and you know that.
Here's the point. My intention was to show that not only did Israel know, because Israel, we're talking about 9/11. Not only did Israel know, but the United States knew.
You're saying that Israel and the United States knew that Germany, these attacks were going to occur.
Right. And Germany, and France, and Russia, and England. And this is confirmed.
And you know that's preposterous.
Do I know it's preposterous? No, it's not preposterous. See, this is what happened.
The Israelis did not know.
This is what happened. The
United States did not know.
Oh, well, you know that's not true. One of the reasons that, what's her name, Cynthia McKinney, the congresswoman from Georgia, got put out is because she said the same thing. I have a press release of hers in my bag that says the same thing.
What evidence do you have?
Do you know that the Democratic Party is saying the same thing now?
The Democratic Party does not say that, sir.
The Democratic Party does not say that Bush and company knew?
Knew that 9/11, the attacks were going to occur.
Was coming, yes.
Yeah.
They don't say that?
They don't say that.
That's not what they said last week, 2 weeks ago?
There have been reports, there have been committee hearings regarding it,
they can't connect the dots.
No. Tell me.
I think that you're not reading closely. Maybe you're hearing what you want to hear.
What evidence do you have?
What evidence do the people who said that have? What evidence does the Democratic Party have? You know, there is any number of articles in the internet. You can check with any number of Israeli newspapers, Haaretz, Yadiat Aronot, Manar TV. You can check the website of Shabak, the Israeli security. And what's wild is that people like this company, for instance, and I'm not singling you out, you have huge mainframe computers. You can get this stuff with just a few taps of your fingers.
All right. Let's put aside for a moment whether or not
But the rest of the
true.
poem, what's interesting to me, the rest of the poem doesn't, they're going to destroy this poem, they think, by trying to deny that the whole imperialist world knew this was going to happen, that Bush and company knew this was going to happen, did nothing. The FBI agents in Minnesota and in Arizona will tell you the same thing. One of the FBI agents suing them about it.
There is no question that there have been reports and
Okay.
at the committee hearings that there were lots of various warnings, and no one was able to pull it all together.
That's what they say, right. Oh, yeah, okay.
However, if we put aside whether or not it is true or not true, even your critics say you have a right as a poet.
Then why are they trying to beat me up then if I have a right?
Because you are the Poet Laureate of New Jersey.
Right.
And you have, according to them, a responsibility. You have an obligation not to foment hatred.
My responsibility is to truth and beauty. That's what Keats said, and that's what Du Bois said. That's my responsibility.
Do you agree
now,
that your poem includes hatred, and should you be fomenting
what is
hatred?
hatred in there? What is hatred? Tell me what's hatred in there.
You don't think that there's hatred in
What is
there?
it? What is it?
Oh, my goodness. Well, should I read you all the lines
There's a great
from it?
Chinese author named Lu Shan that says if you can't hate, you can't love.
Well,
So, I mean, everything is dialectic. There's no up without down. There's no fat without skinny. So, I mean, you know, I would admit I hate slavery. You understand? You know, I hate murderers. I hate lies.
how do you view your role as Poet Laureate?
To bring attention to poetry, to give people access to poetry, to network poetry throughout the state. But if they're going to try to censor what I say, look, the two most praised poets, American poets, you know, by the Academy, by these same people, are Ezra Pound and T.S. Eliot, the worst anti-Semites in the universe. And I certainly can't compare to them.
I know you have said that you are not an anti-Semite.
That's right.
You say you're anti-Israeli.
Well, let's say this. I'm against Israeli foreign policy. I'm against what they're doing to the Palestinians. I think they're massacring the Palestinians. And I have two communications from Israel, one by Gosh Shalom, which is the peace bloc, another by 95 Israeli academics, all condemning Israel. And the ADL is condemning them. I wouldn't know why the ADL gets over at Israel condemning. Were they condemning them as anti-Semites too?
Are you anti-Jewish?
No, of course not. That's bizarre. See, this is what I'm saying. You mean to tell me I can't criticize Israel without getting called anti-Semitic or anti-Jewish?
This has always been your position.
Do you think that Israel and Judaism are the same thing? They're not. You understand what I mean? Do you think that...
Yes, I know this has always been your
well,
position.
Well, people hide behind it. Israel hides behind that. If you attack them for what they're doing to the Palestinians, by the way, you're anti-Semitic. You know.
All right. Now, when you uttered this poem at a festival, the New York Times quotes the director of the festival as saying you did apologize for the poem, and you actually extracted the offensive lines the second time you read it. Is that true?
What I did was I apologized to Mr. Haba, because he came, he was very frustrated. People were jumping on him. You understand? Not people were jumping on him. Somebody apparently had upset him. He was upset, and he came to me and said something like, we're trying to pull things together, or we're trying to deal with everyone, and you're trying to, you know, marginalize us or something like that. I said, I'm sorry, Jim, because this is your job. I know it's a difficult job.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Isn't that really essentially what all your critics are asking, that you are, whatever you said, marginalizing or causing a schism?
Well, let me ask you this. Are you concerned about those Palestinians that are getting killed?
No, can you answer that question?
Is the ADL concerned about the Palestinians getting killed?
If you apologize to the director of the festival,
yeah, sure.
Why not maintain that position now regarding your poem and say, all right, maybe I shouldn't have,
No.
as
That's
Poet
not what
Laureate.
I was apologizing to him for him having to accept all this criticism and attack from people, you know what I mean, and he felt put upon as a result of what I was doing, you know. But as far as people jumping on me, they got a right to do it. If they want to jump on me, I can take it.
All right.
You understand?
We have someone right now
I
who
bet.
would happily jump on you
I
at
know
your
what I
press
mean.
conference, all right?
Right. Is this the same
challenged-
people who attacked affirmative action, who filed a suit against affirmative action?
You challenged the Anti-Defamation League to debate you on national television.
Sure.
Now, the ADL declined to debate you
I bet
directly.
you they did.
But the ADL Associate National Director, Kenny Jacobson, has agreed to respond. Mr. Jacobson, thank you for being with us. Why is it that you so strenuously object to Mr. Baraka's poem?
Well, just listening to Mr. Baraka's comments, they would be laughable if they weren't so serious. We're in a situation now in the world where we're having the the greatest explosion of anti-Semitism that we've seen since
Let's
since
keep
World War
this
II.
on the poem itself. And the
But
question is, what is it? Doesn't he have a right as a poet to say what he wants to say?
Everyone has a right to say what they say. Everyone also has a right to respond to hatred. And in this particular case, because he represents the state of New Jersey, there's an obligation for the state to look into his responsibilities. The simple fact is the 9/11 myth is the biggest lie that's been told about the Jewish people since the days of Hitler. And the simple fact is that this started in Lebanon on September 17th. 60% of Muslims in 9 different countries believe that Jews are responsible for 9/11. This is a very, very dangerous thing. This isn't just something abstract. This kind of thinking leads to very dangerous consequences. And to have Mr. Baraka representing the state of New Jersey repeat this kind of lie is anti-Semitic.
Well, in the same poem, sir, may I bring your attention to the poem itself? In the poem itself, he talks about the persecution of Jews. And so you say he's anti-Semitic, or that he's anti-Israel. In fact, in the very same poem, he talks about the persecution of Jews.
I just know the impact of these kinds of words around the world. The simple fact is this is an outright lie, the biggest lie that we've seen. The lie that Israel knew about this, that the fact is the story really was that it is believed in the Islamic world that not only did Israel know about it, but that Israel and the Jews were behind it. 60 Minutes did a piece, and they interviewed people in
Mr. Jacobson?
Yes.
You know, the governor of New Jersey cannot remove him.
Yes,
the committee that selected him cannot remove him by law. So what do you want,
well,
what do you
look,
want done?
Number one, first of all, we're very pleased that the governor spoke out. And the truth is, it was a predecessor to Mr. Baraka, and it would be nice if they could replace Mr. Baraka or supersede his role because of the hatred that is not representative of what the people of New Jersey should be seeing. So the fact is, this is not just a few comments. This speaks to something that's going on